Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission study session for Monday, May 24th, 2021. It is 6:30 p.m. and I will call the meeting to order. We're starting with study session item A1, discuss regular agenda items. On to the regular agenda. Consider approval, C1, consider approval of the attendance matrix for the Planning and Zoning Commission as presented and take appropriate action. Anyone have any concerns or issues with the attendance matrix? Seeing none, we'll move on to C2. Consider approval of the April 26, 2021 Planning and Zoning Commission minutes and take appropriate action. Any comments, thoughts, concerns with the minutes? All the names must be spelled correctly. Item C3. Consider the request for a detailed site plan for an office building on an approximate 3.35 acre lot located at 13998 Diplomat Drive and take appropriate action. Sharup is doing this one. All right, super. Any questions on this case?
I do have a question,
Yes.
Chairman Moore. Just wanting some clarification here. I'm assuming that the prospective applicant is looking to acquire the property, right? It's not a build to lease. They're actually going to purchase the property if this moves forward?
The applicant is present here tonight, and I believe he will be the best person to answer that.
Okay.
I think they are
Wait till
under
then.
contract, but
That's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Moving on to, D1. D1 is a public hearing. Conduct a public hearing and consider the request for a specific use permit and associated detailed site plan for auto truck leasing or rental with outdoor storage on an approximate 2.23 acre property located at 13210 Sinlac Drive and take appropriate action. Any questions on this case? All right.
Is this one where the lease run out in April? So they can still continue to work? I mean, I'm assuming even though the lease runs out?
their specific use permit is expiring in April, but given that they have already applied to renew their specific use permit, that's why they were granted to continue operation.
Okay.
All right, any more questions?
Just a follow-up to that, I guess, did they provide any pictures of their inventory? I just noticed some of the comments from staff was concerned about not being able to control the value of the inventory or the types of cars that are being sold.
That's the following case.
I thought you said D3, I'm sorry.
D-
We're on
D1.
the exposed one, I'm sorry.
D1, yeah.
Getting my used car ones confused, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. We'll move on now to D2. Conduct a public hearing and consider the request for a specific use permit and associated detail site plan for vehicle sales and leasing used on a 8.36 acre tract located at 14325 Gillis Road and take appropriate action. Gio, I think we'll start with you.
I guess, you know, when we look at cases like this, and I get where staff is coming from with your position based on what the big picture plan is in the area, so I totally understand that. But on the flip side, you know, when I look at this area specifically, I feel like this area is more removed from where the robust redevelopment is actually happening. And then I also look at this as an opportunity to potentially ask the property owner to consider not just limiting the facade improvements to the proposed tenant, but why could he not consider improving the sourcing building next door, the tenant next door, looking to propose to limit the improvements to just the new area that's going to be leased out. So I think if there's opposition from the staff, and if there could be some opportunity to potentially reconsider amongst the commissioners to push this forward, I think making a request like that is a potential way to offer some goodwill to whoever the developer is or whoever the property owner is. Generally speaking, I mean, I think I feel that, like I said, the development and some of the plans that we've seen and redevelopment tend to be further south, closer to the 635 area. And I still think that, you know, we're probably a long time away from getting to the point where we want this area to be what it is. And I know it doesn't help when we make decisions like this in terms of big picture, but I'd also hate to see just a building just sitting there vacant, not generating or potentially helping generate more tax revenue for the city. But that's just my overall opinion.
Thank you. Commissioner Brittle.
Yeah, well, I actually agree with that. And if you do the landscaping, et cetera, all the way around, that does make a better looking building and hopefully more attractive for use for someone to come in.
So I would just add to that, if that's the will of the commission, then it's something that will need to be a part of the recommendation, given that this is a specific use permit.
The other thing I would add to that is, so, you know, one of the challenges we have here is that the specific use permit is for only a portion of the building, given the portion that's being leased. And so while we are sensitive to wanting to see, obviously, the entire property improved, we also recognize that they're not taking the entire site. So we try to find a balance between the improvements that are being made based upon the area that is being leased with the balance of the property. You know, in this case, because it is a specific use permit request, the property owner does benefit from having the ability to have an additional tenant within the space. So you would think revenues that are received from rents, if this request were approved, could be applied towards improvements for the remaining balance of the property. But we've tried to be sensitive to that, also addressing some of the site nonconformities as well. But if it's the will of the commission to consider allowing for this use to occur, if you're wanting to see additional improvements being made to the site as a whole, then as Jennifer pointed out, I would encourage you to include that in your recommendation. If you're wanting to see that before you take action, which might be a viable consideration, you might want to consider tabling the request and giving the applicant specific direction as to what you're looking for.
So, Tina, what I'm proposing is something that we can enforce and essentially push back on them to take it back to the property owner to somehow include those improvements contingent upon our approval of this. That is something that we can request.
Because this is a specific use permit request, and it's a zoning action, right?
Absolutely,
so you do
right.
have the ability to make that request. If that's the will of the commission, then I would encourage you to be very specific in your direction to them as to what you're looking for. So, for example, if you're wanting improvements to the entire exterior of the building, be specific in terms of what you're looking for with those improvements. I know they're making some modifications to the exterior, doing some paint enhancement, doing some coverage on the overhead doors. If you're expecting that paint application to be applied to the whole building, then I would be specific in that direction that you provide. If you're interested in them extending additional landscaping on this site, then being specific as to where you're wanting that landscaping to be provided. I would recommend that, you know, if the commission is interested in going down that path, that you would table this request, give them that direction, allow them the opportunity to be able to revise the plans accordingly, and then bring those back to the commission for your action on that. Because we also have you have the potential that the applicant may not be in agreement with your recommendations. So it would give them an opportunity to decide what improvements that they're willing to do and bring that back to the commission for your final determination.
So, G, what were you thinking of asking them for?
Well, I would like uniformity across the entire building. I wouldn't want it to be limited.
Half
Who's the
painted.
applicant, just so I know who I'm looking at? Okay. I would not want the building to not be uniform in nature in terms of the improvements being made. I get that's an ask, but that's going to be contingent upon me making the recommendation for approval, or at least that's where I stand on this.
So the person here is the one wanting to do the lease on the one part, and the owner of the building is not here.
That is my understanding.
Got it.
The owner's not here. I'm informed that the owner is not in the state of Texas, but the tenant, the representative for the tenant is here.
Say it again, the owner is not what?
The owner is not located within the state.
Got it.
But the tenant, a representative for the tenant is here.
Pat Byrne, any comments, thoughts, questions? No. Okay.
None so far.
Thank you. Bonnie Petraza?
I do have a question. It's my understanding that this east side plan was updated in 2017, that's correct?
That's correct.
So it's a pretty recent plan and update to that area?
Correct.
Okay.
The most recent, as far as our comprehensive plans go. Yes.
Bonnie?
I agree with the sentiment that, I mean, I know we have recently put this plan together in the last 5 years, and I believe in it and agree with it. It is not on one of the main thoroughfares that is seeing a lot of redevelopment right now, and so I'm conflicted for some of the reasons that Commissioner Zavala mentioned as well. So I'm interested to kind of mull through that over the course of the presentation.
Thank you. Jennifer, can you tell us how many times planning has met with the applicant, just so we have an idea?
Testing my memory here. Officially, through a pre-application meeting once. I know the applicant or the tenant considered other properties within the east side, specifically one that was located within the east side business district. So that one had its challenges. But for this specific property, I think at least once before the formal application was filed.
I was going to say, I know I visited with folks at least twice before the application was filed, before even the pre-development meeting.
Yeah, okay.
And can staff give us any idea, and this might be an economic development question, but my perception is there are other buildings on the east side that are already have SUPs for auto-related functions? Is that correct or incorrect?
That's a great question. I believe there is one that I can think of. Don't ask me where, because I can't remember exactly the street intersection. But I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe it was adopted prior to the comprehensive plan being updated. That's the only vehicle sales related. That's the only one I can think of.
Okay.
We do have potentially non-conforming uses in the east side that are vehicle sales related. But I don't know exactly where those are located and if they exist.
David, if I could add to that. So, gosh, if you recall, when we did the zoning amendment for the bubble case, I'm trying to think, the vehicle fleet and storage use. So discussion regarding vehicle sales, vehicle storage was quite extensive. I know the commission wrestled with it. I think the commission was looking to try and find a solution to accommodate that business. Ultimately, when it went to city council, that zoning case was essentially withdrawn or denied, if you will. And part of that was as a result of a lot of the discussion with the council at the time. Councilman Blackson, who had served on the Planning and Zoning Commission and was very involved in the East Side Plan adoption, had spoken to the history of trying to get some control on auto-related uses on the east side. So hence why the East Side Business District was put in place. And then ultimately with the recommendations in the comprehensive plan, trying to shift the east side area away from being heavily auto-related use oriented. So that's why the comprehensive plan has recommendations in it that, that auto-related uses are not appropriate anymore on the east side. Since that point in time, I know we had we had the case that was over there on Midway Road, the old Gabert's Furniture Building that was going to be used for like auto condominium storage place. That specific use permit was ultimately approved. Specific use permits are good for 6 months if they're not occupied by the applicant. Otherwise, that SUP was expired. So I believe that's probably expired by now because they never did occupy it. We had another auto sales and leasing use that was requested over off of Beltwood Parkway, which I know the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denial of that one. And ultimately, I believe they withdrew their application before we went to City Council. So we've had some make it to Council. We've had others that haven't. But you're right. We have this challenge now where we're trying to encourage redevelopment on the east side, adaptive reuse of properties, trying to better position the east side for the longer term. And so hence why we have the land use policies that are included in the east side plan document, and hence what we base our recommendation on. This area is a challenge because when you drive Gillis and you look at what's there, some may say it's not the most attractive area of the city, and I would have to tend to agree with that observation. But you have to start somewhere. And so, if the commission feels it's appropriate to allow for this land use, then obviously you can make that in your recommendation. But I would ask you to keep in mind the bigger picture of what's trying to be achieved, because again, you have to start somewhere in these areas. You're right, the reinvestment in that area may not be as significant compared to what's happening, such as along Alpha Road and Inwood, where we've seen quite a bit of the investment there. But I would ask you to take that in consideration, that we have to start somewhere when we're trying to implement the plan recommendation. It is a 20-year plan, though, and it recognizes that as well. So, as given your concerns and comments that are expressed this evening, I could understand if you're trying to accommodate uses that may not be fully supported within the comp plan, in the interest of trying to at least starting to have some sort of improvements being made to those properties. So I look forward to our discussion during the public hearing as well.
Great. And Jennifer, can you, is it easy to pull up the map?
Sure.
Just so, I think I know where this is, but,
Give me a second. This time I will not forget to share screen like I always do. Pat, you can see this, correct? Okay. This aerial here?
okay. So to the west is Green Hill School on Midway at Spring Valley. And across the street from that is Westwood there? Westwood School?
Are they occupying that facility? Yes.
Okay, so there's two private schools right there on both sides of Midway Road. And then we have this row of buildings that are whatever the businesses are. And then we have the building that the applicant is the green square. Westwood.
I'm so, okay, I might have missed that. Where exactly is Westwood? I'm sorry. Not here. This is...
No, that's Green Hill, but I thought across the street from Green Hill was Westwood, because the gun range is north, 2 blocks or whatever, and Westwood was the school that opposed the gun range.
Okay, I'd have to confirm that. Do you know?
Yes, the Westwood School is on the east side of Midway Road, and I believe it's north of Spring Valley. John? I was thinking it was north of Spring Valley because you have the Eagle gun range that's up in that area, and then, but I believe that is correct, because it has frontage on Midway Road. I know Eagle gun range does, and then I was thinking Westwood School is right there.
Okay, and then as we're driving Spring Valley to the east, we're past Midway Road, and on the right is Odd Muse Brewery, in one of those 4 buildings, and then somewhere in there is Weir's Furniture. I'm just trying, I drive this street every single day, so I'm just trying to get some landmarks in my mind of where we are.
Correct.
And the barbecue is coming in near Odd Muse, there near Spring Valley, right?
Correct.
Okay. So this is 1 block away from Odd Muse and the barbecue.
Correct.
I think that's, okay.
That's correct.
Perfect.
Yeah, so Odd Muse is actually located in the furthest
Got it.
east building here. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And David, I looked, the Westwood School is actually on the east side of Proton, so just to the,
Yeah.
it is immediately to the
Yeah.
west of the property outlined in green.
Okay. So Westwood is between Green Hill and the property outlined in green.
Correct, and actually,
Okay.
Jennifer, it's 1 building north of the one where you put that one.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, any more discussion on this case? All right, seeing none, we will now go back to study session, agenda item A2, receive a report regarding zoning and development cases acted upon by City Council.
So the list is short, as you're well aware, since we have not had as many meetings. We have several projects in the queue, but these two hopefully look familiar. The first one, 13100 Sunlac Drive, this was the detailed site plan amendment for the office warehouse building. This is the property, Kim Minsuk's building, the Comerica property. This was the office warehouse that had the off-site access issues, if you recall that site plan that we had discussed. So it was approved as submitted by council. And then the second item was the Dallas College, and it received recommendation for approval from the commission. I think we had a fair amount of discussion regarding the hike and bike trails that are on private property there, but ultimately that site plan was also approved by council. So happy to answer any additional questions there might be.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item A3, discuss agenda items for future planning and zoning commission consideration. Anything to add to the work list?
David, I do have an update that I would like to address with the commission that's related to your work program. So the landscaping amendments that you all spent quite a bit of time on, especially over the course of 2020 working on. So just wanted to give you an update that we will be bringing that back to the commission at the joint meeting that the commission will be having with city council. That is scheduled for July 12th, so hopefully that's already on your calendars. We anticipate an early meeting start on that, so wanted to let you all know sooner than later. I would put 3 o'clock on your calendar for that time period. And because that is our only meeting for the month of June for the commission, so it's in all likelihood, we will have a regular meeting following the joint meeting discussion with city council. So unfortunately, we're having to start early to be able to get through all of the content. It's possible we might refine that meeting time. If anything, it would be less, but I would not anticipate a start time earlier than 3 o'clock.
Thank you.
Tina, I'm sorry. You say June or July 12th?
July. So July 12th,
Thank you.
and that meeting will be here at City Hall.
Any other items to add to future planning and zoning commission consideration? All right, seeing none, I will close the study session meeting at 6:52 p.m.